So good afternoon. Yesterday, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary Turco, and I met with the Black and Latino Caucus for one of our regularly scheduled meetings. Since we took office, we've been meeting with them pretty much every 90 days or so to just catch up on what's going on and to talk about issues and ideas and opportunities. And over the course of the past 5 years, we've managed to get a lot of really important work done. But obviously, yesterday's meeting carried a little more weight. Together, among other things, we observed 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence in honor of George Floyd. And some of the people who are actually on the WebEx call were also participating at the same time in the remote session that the House of Representatives was having. So on our call, we could actually hear House Speaker Bob DeLeo stop the House session at about the same time that we stopped our meeting to observe the same 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence. I just want to say that we think at times like these, when so many of us are feeling pain and anxiety for a whole bunch of reasons, it was enormously helpful to experience in some small way with a group of colleagues together just how long 8 minutes and 46 seconds was, even if it was something that was being done using remote technology. We have some really great ideas coming out of those discussions, and we hope to have more to say about some specific proposals next week that we believe will dramatically improve transparency in law enforcement. With respect to Lab Central, Johannes, I want to thank you and your team for having us here today. And before I highlight some of the great work these companies are doing, I do want to provide my usual daily update on testing and hospitalizations. At this point, there have been over 600,000 tests conducted throughout Massachusetts, and the positive test rate average is down 80% since the middle of April. And as of yesterday, there were about 1,659 patients who were hospitalized due to COVID-19. That was also down dramatically from mid-April. Across a number of key indices, we've been seeing positive trends for the past several weeks and making the right kind of progress. I think as many people know, 3 weeks ago, we began phase 1 of the 4-phase plan to reopen the state's economy in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and to do so in a phased, careful, and thoughtful way. And tomorrow, we plan to announce, based on the data, when phase 2 will begin. Frankly, it's been good to see people have an opportunity to get back to work, either remotely or back at the place that they used to call their office. And it's been especially encouraging to see families visit with parents and grandparents at many of our long-term care facilities. We continue to see, as I said, declines in many of those key public health metrics, but I don't think I need to remind everybody that what got us here was our commitment to a set of behaviors and activities, and we have to remain vigilant with respect to all of that. We need to continue to practice the distancing that was so important to stopping the spread, wearing face coverings whenever possible, and especially when appropriate and necessary, maintain the right kind of hygiene and stay home if you're feeling sick. Like most businesses, the companies that work here at Lab Central in this complex have had to change many of their protocols and safety guidelines due to COVID-19. And a quick walk around the building today was a clear indicator of many of the steps that both the companies and Lab Central have taken. And I want to thank you guys for you trying to create a little bit of humor and a light touch to some of the guidance and the advisories that you've put forward for your staff and for your tenants. The Lieutenant Governor and I also had a chance to hear how some of the companies have made some pretty significant changes. And I have to say, we've been impressed by how the scientific and research community, which is certainly one of the state's most vibrant industries, have adapted and responded to this crisis. Lab Central, I think as many people know, has served as a launch pad for high-potential life science and biotech startups here in Massachusetts since its founding, and has supported over 126 companies. In the last 6 years, Lab Central companies have added 2,400 jobs to the Mass economy. One of the companies we spent some time with today was E25 Bio, a company that works to predict outbreaks around the world and helps control these using unique and affordable testing solutions. Using their viral platform for mobile rapid detection of other viruses, they've begun to manufacture a COVID-2 spike rapid test. Affinivax is the company we were just talking to down the hall, is advancing a next-generation technology platform to enable the development of vaccines and immunotherapies. And Helix Nano has spent the last 2 years developing cancer vaccines, but it's now adapted to take on COVID-19. They're also working to create a vaccine that protects people from coronavirus. Lab Central and the companies that are here have also implemented new protocols for social distancing, hygiene, staffing, operations, and cleaning, and they've done so diligently since day one. They continue to encourage working remotely or from home by giving membership rebates, mandating face coverings, implementing extra cleaning, staggering shifts, and reconfiguring the workplace to promote social distancing. And I think all of us, as we all know, as employers, workers, customers, and community leaders, and just as residents and citizens, have a role to play in fighting COVID-19. Lab Central and their member companies are a great example of how this can be done responsibly. The approach that we've been taking to reopening and ramping up operations is a good example for other companies that are reopening here in Massachusetts. While Lab Central already had effective policies and procedures in place, they're also constantly monitoring the latest updates from our command center and from the CDC and making adjustments accordingly based on what they see here. This is exactly what we need across the state, which is active participation from employers, workers, and the general public. And through mask.gov/reopening, we're providing detailed standards, protocols, and best practices for specific sectors that go beyond the mandatory safety standards required for all businesses and employers. Johannes, I want to thank you for hosting us today and for showing us all how you are supporting and engaging, along with many of your companies here, the fight against COVID-19.